Hi, my name is Boris, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to write melodies in Ableton. It's fairly basic what we're going to be talking about here, and after today's video you should be able to write melodies yourself easily. Before we get into it, if you like what we are doing on this channel, make sure to subscribe. We've got more videos on Live 12 coming up, and if you'd like to learn chords and harmony, check out our Music Theory for Melodic House and Techno course. Alright, so let's get started. So what we have here is a simple melodic house loop. I will play it too, and then we'll recreate the chords and the melody. Alright, so if we take this clip here with the pad and we put it on a piano and we do the same thing with the ARP, which is the melody, we get this. Right, as you can see, this is not going to be a complex melody. Let's just get started. I'm going to make a brand new MIDI clip. If you don't have these tracks set up like this, you can just go into the library and search for piano, maybe grand piano actually. And if we go into the instruments tab, maybe we can drop this one. Any grand piano will do. Sounds fine. If you want to make it a bit softer, you can just search for velocity, double click it, and you can just decrease the out high knob here, which is going to decrease the velocity of your incoming MIDI notes. If you want to play this instrument, you need to have the track armed, so clicking this button right here, and you can play the MIDI keyboard, or if you don't have the MIDI keyboard, you need to press this button and then you can press keys on your computer keyboard from A to L. So I'm pressing A, G and K. So I'm just going to double click in one of these slots here. If you're not in this view, make sure you have switched from the session to the arrangement by clicking one of these buttons or just pressing tab. And I'm going to double click here. The piano roll is going to open, and you can also open it up and close it here. Okay, so first of all, let's change the length. We want the clip to have 8 bars, so I'm just going to type 8 here instead of 1 under loop length. And make sure the loop is enabled here. Okay, so now you see that the grid is very narrow and we can make it wider to more easily input our notes. We can just right click and set it to 1 bar, for example. Okay, so now any note that we input here is going to be 1 bar. We have folded the piano roll here into the scale and we have the C major scale selected. You can unfold it here by unclicking scale. If you don't have the scale notes highlighted, you can just press this button right here and it's going to highlight them in purple. We are just going to stick with the C major scale, so you can leave it as it is, and we are only going to work with the notes of the scale. So if we're not going to be using these black keys, let's just disable them by clicking the scale button. And we're just left with the white keys. Okay, so the progression is fairly simple. We have 3 chords. We have 1 chord starting at D. We have 1 chord starting at F. And we have 1 chord which is C, the tonic. If you don't hear the notes that you're inputting, make sure this button is selected. In order to build your chords, it's very simple. All you need is just skipping every other note. And you can make it even easier because now you have to double click to add a note. You can just press the B key and your mouse is going to turn into a pencil and you can just skip 1 note, click and add the F, boom, add the A. So now what we have, if we go back into the regular cursor, this is the chord that we have. And this is the D chord. Now I have a really cool cheat sheet that I'm going to show you, which is going to tell you if this chord is a minor chord, a major chord, what kind of chords do we have in the C major scale. Okay, so as you can see, the chords in the C major scale look like this. And you can see that between the notes, it's not always the same distance. So here we have 3 empty notes here, and here only 2 between the first and the second note. That's what makes a chord major or minor, and we can fold this scale so that it's a bit easier to see that all these chords are basically just skipping 1 note of the scale between each note. So we folded the scale so you can see how the chords are constructed. We're basically skipping 1 note to construct a triad, and in the C major scale, 3 major chords are formed, so the 1st, the 4th and the 5th, and we have also 3 minor chords, which is the 2nd, the 3rd and the 6th. Then we have the 7, which is the diminished chord. We're not going to be using that one at all, so just don't worry about it for now. Feel free to screenshot this. So when you're writing, it's very handy to know whether your chord is a major chord or a minor chord. Basically, the distinction is that the major chord is going to sound happy and the minor chord is going to sound sad. And the diminished chord for you probably is going to sound a bit funny at first. Okay, so the D is the 2nd, so you probably know by now that this is a minor chord. The F is the 4th, so this is the major chord. And the C is, of course, a major chord because we are on the C major scale. So here are our 3 chords. Let's space them out a bit differently. I'm going to maybe disable the preview, take these and use the right arrow to move this. I'm going to take this one and also move it. What I'm going to do now is just deselect everything, go to this tab here and press legato. We have extended all these chords over the entire clip. It's basically much slower now because we have a longer melody to play. Okay, so let's take these chords for now and put them an octave lower. So we're going to select them all and press the Shift key and the down arrow. And now we're not playing C2 but D2 starting from this note. So this is going to sound a bit lower. And we're going to build some more interesting sounding chords than this. You can use your scroll wheel to move here, or you can scroll here by clicking and dragging this area. And if you want to zoom in and out, you can just drag this area right here, the kind of ruler. We're going to add a bass note to the first chord. You can take this note, click on it, hold Ctrl and drag it down until D1. So it's going to sound a bit fuller now. We're going to do the exact same thing for the second chord. So clicking this one, holding Ctrl and dragging it down. And I'm also going to do the same thing with C. So holding C, putting it down here. And you can this way create more interesting chord variations. So let's listen to what this sounds like. That sounds quite grand. It's not a necessity to keep every note. So we can maybe disable this F because we already have it as a bass note here. So let's listen to it now. I'm going to make this note a bit shorter, so I'm going to click on it, hold the end of it and just drag it this way. And now we're going to do something more interesting. We're going to use this note here. And so we're not skipping over one note, so we're kind of going against the rules here. But that's what you can absolutely do, and this way you create more interesting chords. So let's hear what it sounds like. And of course, if you want to play, you don't need to play it from the start. You can just play it from this part here. So if you click on the ruler here, under the loop brace, you can basically preview it from any moment pretty much in time. So this already sounds much more elaborate. I'm going to do the same trick, so just add a bass note from C2 to C1, and I'm going to take the E, move it an octave up, so I'm not going to copy it, just press Shift, the up arrow. Let's hear what this sounds like. This sounds very grand, and in order to make the timbre a bit more interesting, we can also move it one step down. And then we can also make this note a bit shorter and add a note here. So we're repeating the note here. And the last thing that we're going to do here is expand this option right here. If you don't see it, make sure you click this button right here. You can expand this, basically click Ctrl and A or Command and A on Mac. And you can drag this bar here to set the velocity. So the higher the velocity, basically the louder the notes are. Maybe let's stick around 100. And bear in mind that I've taken a velocity device and I've put it before the grand piano beforehand, and I've already lowered it to 74. So if you want to do this without the velocity, then this is going to be much lower, maybe around 50. So let's preview the entire sequence that we've made. It's a very long progression, so I'm going to make the tempo a bit faster for this preview. Okay, so let's go back to the default tempo, and I'm going to close this and let's write the melody. I'm just going to double click an empty slot. So we still have the C major scale selected, that's perfect. We can fold the velocities. We can right click and set the grid First of all, let's set it to quarter notes here, and we can also make the loop a bit longer. Maybe let's not go into 8, maybe let's set it to 4. So what I'm doing is just clicking this one and pressing the up and down arrow until I get 4. So the simplest melody would be maybe just playing the C note, because this note is going to fit with everything here. So we could play just the C note. Let's play it. But this is incredibly boring, so let's go back. I'm just going back with Control and Z, or Command and Z on Mac. So let's write a sort of arpeggio here. We're going to start with G3 and go back to C. So let's hear what this sounds like. We can duplicate these two notes over the entire clip. So just pressing Command or Control and D after selecting these. And let's hear it. And I want to move around the top notes, so let's go down here, let's go 2 steps down here. And here I want the melody to kind of turn around to go back to the G, so I'm going to go down 1 step, just like we're doing, just descending the top notes. And then I'm going to go back here and then go up, so it goes up and lands on the G here. So let's hear it once again. Let's try that again. Let's double click in an empty MIDI slot and let's increase the length to 4, but this time let's go into 8 notes and let's do the exact same thing. So going from G to C, and I'm going to duplicate this and do a bit of a different pattern. I'm too high, so I can select all the notes, Control or Command and A, and then Shift and down arrow. Let's go 2 steps down, and let's go down here as well, and then turn around. This might sound a bit too loud, so maybe we can lower the velocities here. It's not exactly the kind of rhythm that we're looking for. In order to do the rhythm from the track, we need to right-click once again and set the grid this time to 16th notes. And we're going to be moving around the notes a bit, so let's delete these notes once again. Okay, so we're going to be adding a bit more of an interesting rhythm. So this is the area that we're going to be working with. Let's first create the rhythm and then we'll move around the notes. So let's do a sort of dotted rhythm, which means that we're going to be skipping over 2 16th notes here, skipping over 2, skipping over 2, and skipping over 2, and here we're going to be just skipping over 1. So let's hear the rhythm now. And let's take every other note. I'm just holding Shift to do that, and I'm dragging them into G. So let's hear it. We can also extend these notes, selecting all of them, dragging the right end. And we can duplicate this entire thing. And we can do the same thing as before, so just downwards, 3 steps down, and then doing a turnaround at the end. And this is also going to sound a bit harsh, so maybe let's lower the velocity and hear it. And if you want to make the bass pattern, it's also very easy. And we can take the chords progression that we've made, put it onto the bass track and just delete all the higher keys. So we're just left with the bass notes. And let's just check whether we're playing in the correct octave. Let's go Control and A, so to select everything, or Command and A on Mac, Shift arrow and up. Okay, sounds good enough. Let's play everything together now. And if you'd like to view both clips at once, you can just click on the ARP and hold Control and go to the pad. Click on this one. You have 2 of these enabled and you can switch between which of these is on top with these ribbons at the top. The only reason why the pad is sort of in the same space as the ARP is that the synth is using a different octave. So if we put it down by an octave, we can see that it overlaps like this. Okay, I hope you will find these melody writing techniques useful. Make sure to check out our Music Production Academy with start to finish courses on making tracks in various genres. And if you'd like to learn more about melody writing, see our Music Theory for Melodic House and Techno course. All links you will find in the video description. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like, write a comment, and I will see you in the next ones.